Okay, is John here? Yep, we're ready. I would like to call to order the regularly scheduled Board of Trustee meetings for September 6th.
Mr. Mahoney? Here. Mr. Haddad, you contacted me and said he'd be late.
I believe he's at a Pizza Hut open house or something.
I believe that's what he is. Ribbon Hut.
Okay.
Mr. Garline?
Here.
And Simple, here.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. I wasn't here. Mr. Mahoney, did you see any changes?
No, you call me Neil, by the way.
Okay.
No, I don't have any changes.
I think we're going to need two to vote on this.
Right. Why don't we
hold this back
until Kevin gets here?
Okay. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have none.
I'd like to make a small one, John. When we get into the administrative side, it is the budgets that we prepared last year at our retreat. I just wanted to maybe get an update or put something together along those lines.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, we will go to the hearing of the public on specific agenda items. Carol Lash, I believe, Wakefield Drive, please. State your name and your address.
Okay. My name is Carol Lash. I live at 5839 Wakefield in the Highland Terrace subdivision, which is located between Highland School and the 7610 Erie Street site under consideration for a fire station. I am a retired educator, having spent over 30 years as a teacher, 8 of which were spent subbing and tutoring in the district's elementary buildings. Thus, it is probably no surprise that my concern is for the impact of this station on the nearby elementary school, the largest in the Sylvania community. Highland has large numbers of students who walk or bike to school, many of whom come from the neighborhoods east of the school, especially the Grove Bell neighborhood. These children will be crossing Erie right in front of the proposed fire station. The crossing is already so dangerous that paid adult crossing guards have now been deemed necessary to replace the previously used volunteers. In these days of tight school finance and the ever-present specter of budget cuts, I question whether the school district will commit to paid guards ad infinitum. I further wonder what steps the township is prepared to take to maximize the safety of the hundreds of youthful pedestrians and bikers who necessarily pass this way every day. I interviewed one of the guards about the traffic in the area of the proposed site. She attested to the significant numbers of children supervised every day and added that the combination of school buses, parents transporting youngsters, and in the morning people going to work via Erie, which is the main artery, create a heavy volume of vehicular traffic. One neighbor reported waiting in morning traffic backed up from Silica on Monroe to Erie. My personal experience trying to exit east onto Erie in the morning confirms these assessments. Although the volume alone generates safety concerns, the guard ranted about the excessive speed she commonly witnesses. The local police are obviously aware of this, as I have often seen the device intended to alert motorists to their speed set up on Erie, most recently last week near the school. The crossing guard has been frustrated by the seeming futility of the efforts to control speed on Erie. Adding a facility which depends on hasty departures is an unhealthy addition to an already perilous area. Drivers who ignore a school zone are likely to be equally unresponsive to the sirens of a fire station. Speed was a factor in the tragic student death last winter just west of this location, and in the last year, we have had 2 significant multiple vehicle crashes on the stretch of Erie currently under consideration, a fatality last September and a 3-car crash last Friday. Admittedly, emergency response vehicles from the current downtown station may have to use Erie, but there is quite a difference in pedestrian alertness and reaction when one sees the flashing lights and hears the warning sirens as they turn onto Erie from Monroe. The distance itself provides an element of safety. While the traffic bears consideration, a fire station has another potential impact on the nearby elementary school. An elementary teacher friend described her experience when she taught in the primary grades of a school 1 block from the fire station. She said that every time the sirens sounded, her young charges stopped whatever they were doing and looked in the direction of the sirens. It was a distraction, albeit usually a brief and minor one, but still one that interrupted the flow of learning and activity in her classroom. It was unavoidable, and she learned to live with it. I would hope that the more than 600 students at Highland will not be subject to this distraction. At an earlier trustees meeting, the point was made that the site under official consideration adjacent to the new Maplewood School was eliminated because of the school board's concerns. Apparently, they anticipated a problem with the confluence of buses opposite the fire station's probable exit. We are not talking about buses loading children. We are talking about children walking and riding to school. Certainly the safety of many of the children going to Highland Elementary is as important as the lineup of buses. I hope these concerns will be a major factor in your site selection process. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Thank you. John, the last name's going to be tough. From Jeffrey Lane, 5836 Jeffrey Lane.
I'll pronounce it.
My name is John Odom. I live at 5836 Jeffrey Lane in Country Club Estates. I've lived there for 32 years. I have been a resident of Sylvania for over 40 years. I also am a former realtor with the Geo Company, which is no longer there. However, I was Realtor of the Year in 1979 and 1980. And my topic today partially concerns property desirability and saleability there. I understand a study was done, and the street location on Erie Street was considered geographically sound. I'm wondering, however, after listening to Mrs. Lash, if it's demographically sound. Again, I found that there's 3 things that you all know create a property's desirability and saleability, and that's location, location, and location, is it not? The areas of Country Club Estates, Highland Terrace, and Grove Bell, I believe, would be negatively impacted, particularly those properties in closest proximity to the Erie Street property. I happen to be one of them. Interestingly enough, this past weekend, my 13-year-old grandson was spending time with us, and we happened to drive by that property. I mentioned to him, they're planning to put a fire station on that property. And he said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "This is a neighborhood." Out of the mouths of children, I guess. But more than that, some people might argue, well, having a fire station there, that's desirable. I mean, good grief, the response time would be negligible. What I'm concerned about is the nuisance factor for me. I live just one street east of that location. And I can hear traffic going up and down Erie Street all the time as it is. I hear the fire engines up and down the street. I hear the police up and down the street, but that's passing. And I can live with that. If any of you have ever been in front of that fire station on Monroe, when a call's received and you hear those sirens blast coming out of there, it's very startling to begin with, and it's quite loud. That's different than hearing a passing siren coming down. I don't want to hear that. And I'm certain there's a large number of my neighbors across the street in Grove Bell and over in Highland Terrace who feel the same way. Just the noise alone from the trucks themselves as they move in and out, with no sirens, are very loud. Those are big, powerful trucks. They make a lot of noise. I'd prefer not to hear that. So going out on calls late at night, early in the morning, would be very disturbing for me where I live, and I'm certain a number of my neighbors. And lastly, to hitchhike on the safety issue, if those routes, that property sits right directly in front of Sun Valley Road that goes straight into Grove Bell. You cannot tell me that if they get a call back in Summer Breeze, the Parklands, Country Walk, maybe even the Meadows, that they're not going to take the fastest route available, and that is through Grove Bell. Now, that is not a main thoroughfare, and I can certainly see, during certain hours, that being a serious safety issue, along with the nuisance. It's one thing to be in your neighborhood and a call's made, a guy had a fire next door, but if they're coming past your house night and day, I wouldn't want it. So I would ask your consideration for us along those lines, if you would, please. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Ken Marciniak.
Thank you. Ken Marciniak, 4755 King Road. And Mr. Genowine said that my appearance here wouldn't be necessary today. I was here to speak in favor of the roundabout being proposed, and I didn't even see it on the agenda. So thank you for the time, and I'll be back when that's up for discussion.
I don't think we'll vote on that. That is a county road there, and I believe, Mr. Zeitler, the county would be the one putting in the roundabout in at Sylvania and Mitchell?
The county engineer, correct.
Yeah. And would we vote, we wouldn't vote on that to...
No, the only thing we have on the agenda is the amendment to PUD for the development behind the roundabout.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you won't hear from me again. Thanks.
Well, I would like to report, like we spoke earlier, the roundabout at Mitchell and Brent, you know, it really has reduced the number of accidents and certainly reduced the severity of the accidents. And, you know, so I think to that part, the roundabout does work, and it does take a little bit of getting used to for the area residents, but, you know, I used to see light coming in and out of that intersection in particular quite a bit, and, you know, to my knowledge, there hasn't been one serious accident since the roundabout's been in, so hopefully we won't get too much opposition, because I know that there's 2 or 3 more slated for the community.
With the one at King and Brent, they could move up anytime they'd like.
Thank you. Don Feller.
No, I just signed it wrong.
Okay. Becky Puffenberger.
I'm Becky Puffenberger, and I live at 5456 Radcliffe Road in Grove Bell. Pretty much reiterating everything that they have said. We've been there 22 years. We saw them open up King Road through Woodstream, saw the traffic increase, the bus traffic increase. Many children, mine are grown now, but I've seen them. And I think it's a very unsafe place to have a fire station. The traffic now that we get is tremendous. We deal with it, but you know, as the gentleman before said, they are going to have to come down Sun Valley and end up on Radcliffe for any of those developments, to get out to King, to get out to Brent. In some cases, they'll go to Centennial if it's out that way, but I think it's unsafe. I work at St. Joe's in Sylvania. I feel for Highland and those children. It's not the place for a fire station.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do you want to let the record reflect that Mr. Haddad?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let the record should reflect.
Thank you. Stephen Risner.
My name is Steve Risher. I live at 6044 North Main Street in Sylvania. I'm also here to talk about the location of number 1 station, but on a different subject matter relating to that location. Chief Kowalski, you were at the City Council meeting on June 20th to give a presentation, and in that presentation you talked about the response times of Erie and Sun Valley as being about 3 to 4 minutes, something like that, Jeff? Is that right?
I don't recall.
All right. Well, you had a map there on the table. We all looked at it, and I also, in that presentation, you also said that the railroad will let you know when they're coming through town in the future, which I was quite skeptical of that. But what I want to say is, the morning after you gave that presentation, and I also spoke to City Council that night and was against entirely the station being at Erie and Sun Valley. The train just happened to be coming through town at 8:05 in the morning. It was pulling 77 cars, loaded cars with grain. That train is very slow moving. It took 20 minutes for that train to go by my house. That's 2 road engines pulling that train. It had to stop twice during that time because I would assume cars were trying to get across it on Erie Street and also Monroe Street and ignoring the locomotives approaching. That was a 20-minute roadblock passing through town. And my concern, and I've said this to City Council more than once, is that if number 3 station is out of service and you have that station positioned at Erie and Sun Valley, and there is a fire east of the tracks or an EMS call or any type of emergency, who's going to get there and when?
Toledo.
Toledo?
Yeah, because
what
we have
station?
reciprocal with Toledo. Toledo would come in at Springfield Township. Well, we have 4 stations in our jurisdiction.
I understand that. But we're paying for 4 stations to serve us.
Yes.
In a timely fashion. And if the train has got the stations blocked, and Monroe Street is a 2-lane highway, Erie Street is a 2-lane road, Brent Road is a 2-lane road. Those are all streets leading into Sylvania and having to cross the tracks. And if you can't get through that, who's going to get there and when?
We've had
what I'm saying is,
Steve, though, where we've had Toledo have to sit at a station because we've had 3 engine companies out running in one area.
That.
I mean, that's why we have cooperation with
I understand that at the time of the emergency, you don't have people filling in for Sylvania. If 3s is out on a routine call, you're not going to have Toledo come in and fill in just for 1 station, because they're not going to do that, are they?
Not if
Unless you have a major emergency.
We have a court available, and that one can get just about anywhere.
All right. What I'm saying is, Erie and Sun Valley is the wrong place for that station. It belongs downtown where it is right now, east of the tracks. So if number 3s is out of service, at least number 1s can get there. When I was on the fire department, and everybody knows here in this room that I was, especially the guys back there, that we had a station positioned west of the tracks and 1 east of the tracks. That was when we only had 2 stations, and that was so, if the train divided the town in half, at least somebody would get there.
I like to always look at history, and, to date, thankful for our firemen and the way they are trained and the way they handle the situation. The train tracks have not been a major issue in our community, and we are working very closely with our fire chief and getting the input as to where the best location is going to be. And we are trying to strategically place these fire stations to get the best response time and to serve the community.
Well, you can't meet that response time if the train is left.
Well, that's your opinion, sir, and I appreciate that, and we take it into consideration.
And it's an easy thing to say that the train tracks have never been a problem. It only takes one problem and the perfect storm of a disaster.
And how many resources can we plan for the perfect storm? I mean, we've got a lot of restrictions and things that we are working with, and it's not an easy decision, but we appreciate your concerns, and certainly they do shed light on one option or one scenario, and we will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Not really.
Steve, we're going to do what's going to be best for the community. I'm calling my fire chief. He knows the area. We're working hard to make this go. If it doesn't go in that area, that's one reason. If it does go in that area, that's another reason. I mean, there's a group of people I heard that are going to City Council tonight to present a petition to show that they don't want it in that location.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm going to ask for a copy of that petition. I personally, saying this with everybody here, will go door to door to the rest of the addresses in the area within a half a mile to see who does want it there, and then we can compare the two lists and see which best fits.
Well, I'm speaking for the downtown.
I understand
where I
that.
live, which is on Main
I'm worried
Street,
about the
east of
downtown
the tracks.
too. I'm worried about downtown too.
I have a big concern that that train's going to impede the fire department from getting there in a timely manner.
The City Council has not made any effort to widen the street at all.
I don't think they can.
They can, they just haven't made any effort to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Art? Holt-Fetter?
Hello, my name is Art Holt-Fetter. I live at 5780 Sun Valley Boulevard in Grove Bell. I myself, and there are a few other people who are speaking from all the subdivisions around. We've already heard from Mr. Odom and Mrs. Lash from Highland Terrace and Country Club Estates, respectfully. I am here to speak in regards to the opposition for the relocation of the Fire Station number 1 to 7610 Erie Street. And I currently have, you had mentioned the copy, so I have the copy of what we have collected in terms of the signatures on the petition. And we started the petition specifically in relationship to a comment that Mr. Haddad, you had at the City Council meeting where you stated that you had some people who were in support of the location. And so we went around to the 3 surrounding subdivisions, which are Grove Bell, Highland Terrace, and Country Club Estates, the ones that would be most affected by the relocation. And we collected a total of 371 signatures in just a very short period of time.
Was that signatures or residences?
These are homeowners. So these...
I mean, do you have like 2 people in one home?
Some. There are some husbands and wives who both signed it. So from that perspective, you can note the addresses and who indeed signed those.
Okay.
My wife and I canvassed a portion of Grove Bell. We acquired 151 signatures of those. We came across 4 homeowners who were supporting that location directly and who stated that. And we came across only 5 who were neither for nor against the location. And you stated that you'd be happy to go around and get some signatures. At the last council meeting, you had stated that you would get some signatures, and so at this point, you haven't collected any signatures for people who are supporting that location. Is that a true statement?
I haven't done anything until we decided as a board. I didn't want to go behind the board's back.
Okay. All right.
John, looking at the last meeting. You can let all you want. I would want Mr. Genowine to be aware that I was doing that.
We got
Okay.
271.
That's good.
Right. So here's a
If
copy.
we only get 20, then we just move on.
I will be filing these officially tonight, so I did bring a copy
Thank you.
for you with all those, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Paul Snap?
You guys made easy names very difficult to read tonight. I don't know what it is, but
I know my writing's not the best. My name is Paul Snap, and I live in 5715 Sun Valley Boulevard, and I've lived there for going close to 20 years now. And I speak as being opposed to the fire station at that area for several reasons. One is the fact that it is close to Highland School. Now, on Sun Valley, the kids walk to Highland School. And I will attest to the fact that there are many, many, many young children crossing Erie Street to get to the school every school day.
to have a fire station there, and they even have the crossing guards, but even with the existing traffic, to me, that's a pretty unsafe. These little kids are very unpredictable. Some of them are riding bikes, and you never know what a kid riding a bike is going to do next. And I know I've heard some of the things that they want, location-wise. My wife and I took a drive around, and I'll be truthful. The hunt for a place to put a station the size they need, there isn't that much property around.
You're right.
There is a property available at the corner of Centennial and Erie. And to me, that makes more sense than Sun Valley. I appreciate the gentleman who spoke about the response time coming across the tracks, and I understand it. This was one concern, that you had a fire call west now, and we sit and wait, and it's no stranger, anyone's lived in Sylvania very long, go out to Erie Street, Monroe Street, to know that they're strange to block traffic. But that particular one would also be right on Centennial Road. It would give access to go south around to get, besides being in Sun Valley, where the station is, to go through that with fire equipment. The equipment's big. There are very few straight stretches. The developers intentionally did this. There's a lot of people walking, children. To me, that would be a very unsafe situation for the. And it's also, I note too, that we hear the sirens all the time. And my wife and I come on sometimes wonder where they're all going. They seem to, a lot of them do go west. I understand they have a high number of calls out to Sunset House. And I'm sure they get calls with all the athletic things at Pace Center and Centennial, the swimming pool. These are where you can really get problems. And that would be, for that, it would be much closer if you could go to that property. But to me, it's just basically unsafe. And as the other gentleman pointed out too, real estate values, that means my real estate value is going to drop. And I can't afford that really either. So I really am opposed to this. I think that I understand the predicament and some of the situations, but I don't think I think the property at Centennial would be a much better. It's beside a commercial location. It's not going to disrupt as many houses and as many people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Root.
John here.
My name is John Root. I live on Alexa Lane, 5859. I am one of the original owners when that section was developed. In fact, I think I'm the last one. I've listened to several of these arguments here, and I am totally against this motion or this proposal, but I don't worry about the kids so much, because when those sirens are gone, those kids are frozen, and half of them are wetting their pants. So the kids you'll get their attention with the sirens. Looking at that property, driving past it, I don't know how in the world one of these trucks is going to get in and out of that property. The property next down at the street level to a point where a large truck will not be able to get out on that street without going into that island that exists towards the corner. That means that something would have to be done to the street to make it possible. The other thing is, you're in an area that is totally residential area. What you need to do is look and obtain a commercial area where you don't have homes butting right up against each other. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's the last people to speak on agenda items.
There was one late arrival that just wanted to sign in, but the sheet was already with Dave.
Okay.
Sorry, too late.
Mr. Zeidler, mine's on zoning.
Oh, I'm good.
On zoning.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Gary Schmidt, and I live at 5779 Sun Valley, right in the corner of Sun Valley in Erie. I love firemen and EMS, but I oppose this location. I feel that the present location is the best option. There's historical buildings there, and there are close to 3 schools: Maplewood, Northview, St. Joe's, and Lord's University. They're all located downtown. And this location is supported by the downtown business owners and city council as expressed in their recommendation letter to Sylvania Township. Now, going back to where some of these other people talked about, if it was located at 7610 Erie, that points south, where it is now, they go down Main Street to go south. But if it's relocated at 7610, there's going to be calls south of there, and they would be going through Grove Bell subdivision down Sun Valley. No matter what you hear, they will be going down through there. And when they go down there, they're going to help deteriorate those roads. 21 years ago, the residents of Grove Bell, the residents, paid for those roads in there. We had them all done over. We paid $1,395,000 out of our pockets, not the city's. It's over $6,000 per home that was on your taxes for 10 years at 5.75 interest on that. We paid for those roads, and we paid for Sun Valley and Ratcliffe, that they will be wrecking those roads, and we're not going to pay for them again. Now, not too many of you were around that, maybe 21 years ago. I lived there for 25 years. I was against it when they put in those roads that we had to pay for. That doesn't happen around here, where subdivisions have to pay for their own roads, and we paid for those doggone things, and I don't want them deteriorated. Okay, going further. At the July meeting, the Grove Bell of this one, the Grove Bell homeowners attended the expressed concern over proposal location. Township trustees stated that a public forum would be scheduled to discuss the location further before any decision was made. However, at the last township meeting, Mr. Haddad proposed a vote to place a bid to purchase 7610 Erie Street, contingent on approval of a special use permit. I feel that he does not respect our neighborhood, nor the homeowners, as he did not follow through with his commitment for a public forum. Furthermore, it has been brought to my attention from several sources that the owner of 7610 Erie is a relative of Trustee Haddad.
No, he's not. He's my 5th cousin.
We have not been able to confirm this. Is this fact true that he is a relative to the guy that wants to sell the land? He's a relative.
Wait a minute. Let me finish up.
A relative that owns that land there.
Wait a minute.
Relative.
Can I finish for 1 second, please?
He's a
Number
relative.
1, can I finish talking, please? This site was brought to me by Mayor Stow at a CIC meeting in the morning last year. He says, but I will deny saying this to you. He says, you know Mark McCarris. I said, he's a shirt-tail relative of my mother's. And I says, yes, I know him. He says, why don't you put the station there? He said, but I'll deny it if it gets...
The mayor said this?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Go ahead.
I do not believe you.
I don't care what you
I think this is a conflict of interest that he is a relative of the guy that wants to sell the land for the fire station.
He's not a close relative at all.
Well, he's a relative. And you're the one that's pushing this.
He might be a relative 20th cousin. I don't know.
Okay, I no longer feel that a public forum would be beneficial at this point, and respectfully ask that a vote be taken to remove this location from the list of proposed sites. Also, due to the conflict of interest, I feel Mr. Haddad should recuse himself from voting. I'd like to see a vote on this now. Let's have a vote.
Richard Moline?
No, I'm not here for this. I'm here for an agenda item.
Okay. This is an agenda. This is for all agenda items.
River Tree. Well, we're talking about River Tree right now?
Well,
Let's get a vote.
Wait a minute. Let me ask a vote.
okay, hold on. First off, I would like to extend my apologies to everyone here for the fire station location on Erie, because, Kevin, we did promise the residents to have an open forum. No, you tried to pass it in my absence at the last meeting, and I thought that was appalling, and it showed no respect for the residents of that area. And to think that you know better than all these people who have lived there for generations.
I don't know better than anyone.
Well, you tried to rush it through last week.
No, I
And
did not.
I have heard umpteen times that this guy is your cousin, so I was kind of curious as to how you planned on passing this at the last meeting. But that being aside, I would like to offer Resolution 11-152, removing the Erie Street site as a possible location for fire station.
Can I ask for one more thing?
No.
No. Could you guys please be reasonable? Any of the firefighters want to discuss this at all or say anything? Yes or no?
Kevin, we all know
I
that
just asked them if they don't want to talk this time.
every site out there has pros and cons to it, and that's why you have a public forum to get input from the residents and the community. But it leaves a sour taste in everyone's mouth when you try and sneak something through in my absence. And
You don't care. Yeah, you don't.
No, I mean, I don't care if we don't have it there. It doesn't bother me.
And we're the home where the accidents
It doesn't bother me.
That man died in front of my house.
I understand
Accident
that.
occurred Friday in front of my house.
And there was an
And a
accident
lady-
Saturday, there was one there yesterday.
And a lady died walking down
please,
East
we understand your concern.
Please.
Let's take a vote.
Okay, we'll call the roll. Mr. Mahoney?
Let me make sure I get this right. Yes as being, this is not, we're eliminating this site.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Haddad?
I'm going to have to stay. They're all thinking I'm related to the guy.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Hey,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Next, moving along.
I think we have two people that want to talk about the River Tree. Let's bring that up now as...
Richard Moline.
Be careful up there, guys.
Kind of the tracks.
Good afternoon, Richard Malone. I'm the attorney for Greg and Margie Langendorfer, who are property owners that apparently will be the most impacted property owner with respect to the proposed roundabout. Today I received a copy of the county engineer's aerial depiction of the roundabout as it is currently being contemplated at the engineer's office. In addition, I received a drawing prepared by Feller and Finch, which depicts the roundabout in a somewhat modified format that I'm advised by the developer has been reviewed with the county engineer's office. It is unclear to us, based upon what we're seeing right now, exactly how that will directly impact the Langendorfer's home.
At present, the Langendorfers' driveway to their home enters from Sylvania Avenue, and basically, not an exact match up to Mitchaw Road, but kind of is a follow-through to Mitchaw Road. The county engineer's roundabout depiction does not even provide for how that access to the Langendorfers' property will be maintained, because the roundabout actually runs right over the top of the entrance to their driveway. The River Tree proposal doesn't necessarily contemplate any solution to that, although the River Tree proposal offers the opportunity for an access easement to enter the Langendorfers' property from the west edge of the property, which would be a modification of their driveway entrance from a Sylvania Avenue entrance to whatever that access road into River Tree is going to be called, and then it's kind of an L-shaped driveway entrance into the Langendorfer property. Nothing is written in stone, nothing has been substantively or fully presented to the Langendorfers. It is unclear exactly how much of the square footage of the Langendorfer property is going to be consumed with the construction of the roundabout. I'm sorry?
Did you talk to the engineer about this?
I did not. I only got this morning.
Okay.
And I mean, I see the depictions of it, and I can come up with a rough idea of what it looks like. But of most importance, of course, is not only access to the Langendorfers' home, but the impact the roundabout will have and the traffic pattern that's going through the roundabout on the Langendorfers' home, which will basically, from sitting in the front window of the home, will now be looking at the traffic circling the roundabout. So from that point of view, we don't have answers yet. I'm here primarily to listen, to find out what the developer's concept is, to find out how that interfaces with what the county engineer is proposing as far as that roundabout is concerned, and how the Langendorfers are going to maintain access to their home. Thank you.
Penny?
Hi, Penny Levine, 3753 Her Road. I noticed on the agenda that, and you may or you may not, vote on, I guess there's amendments to PUD I researched over the weekend, looking for those changes, which we already have regular PUD, the Plan Usage Development, but apparently there's a second, call it PUD number 2 or amendments to it, whatever, but it's more lengthy than the first. Could not find it on the county site. Listened to the minutes, the audio version. There were no written on the township site for August 10th on the zoning board. Mary Himmeline and the group had voted to postpone till the September meeting, so I just wondered why, and I feel that it should not be voted on until myself and others have the opportunity to look that over. Any changes that you plan on making to that PUD, and just have public viewing of that prior to your decision and any implementation of any additions and amendments.
I believe that information was just obtained at the township on Friday.
Okay.
So we really didn't have a way to get it out to people.
Okay.
I believe Tim has it with us, and it will be up here, and I'm sure the developers will be going over here shortly, but that's the main, and again, we are working to improve our website for this type of situation, but we just got it Friday, so.
Well, I thought maybe it was me, but I searched and I couldn't find it, and I'm just asking that you delay acceptance of something such as that, what's on the agenda, until we have an opportunity to view.
Yeah, it was withheld because we're still waiting on legal counsel to review the documents before it's presented.
That's what Mary had said online.
And that will hopefully occur this month.
Okay. Is the development off of Sylvania Avenue also part of that heading? I don't have a copy of the agenda, because I'd like to also give my opinion on that also.
On River Tree?
Yes.
Okay, does that fall under something else? I can continue? Okay, after reviewing the drawings, the plans on the architectural scale, I think everything that was discussed at the last meeting and asked of Mr. Wampsher is in writing, I believe in writing, not verbal. And I myself and my husband, I myself as a property owner, out that way on her road, which his property will be abutting ours and directly behind us, as long as there's compliance between the County Planning Commission. Everything that was asked of him last time is on here, so we find it as a favorable project. Okay? Thank you.
Trustee, can I make a suggestion here? The fire department had a run just a minute ago, and
Yes.
they do have a couple accommodations. Could we move them up right now, so
Yes.
just kind of jump out of order quickly?
Yep.
Chief, if you want to.
Sure. I know we have some young children here, and it's hard for adults to sit for 45 minutes, let alone a young baby, so we'll move this along. Will Mr. Rob Conover please come up to the front? Also, Deputy Chief Lee, Deputy Chief Freilich, and Lieutenant Khan. Right over there, sir. Oh. On August 5th, 2011, at approximately 1400 hours, Savannah Township Fire Department was dispatched to an unconscious person at Pacesetter Park, field number 1. Upon arrival, we found a conscious 67-year-old male patient lying on the ground in the outfield surrounded by multiple bystanders. As we were interviewing the patient, a bystander stated that he went into cardiac arrest, so a guy started doing CPR. Another bystander told us that the guy pulled an AED, AED stands for automatic external defibrillator, out of his cart and shocked the person. The patient was unaware that he had previously gone into cardiac arrest. Our assessment revealed that he had a massive heart attack which stopped his heart. We initiated advanced life support care and prepared the patient for transport. We discovered later on that a Savannah Recreation District employee had single-handedly performed CPR and then defibrillated this victim, saving his life. When time is of an essence, I know we talk about response times to and from runs and how quickly we can get there. Everything is time-oriented. The longer this person goes without air, oxygenation to his brain and his heart, the bigger the chance for him to die. This gentleman, Ron Conover, saved this gentleman's life. While visiting Pacesetter Park on Friday, August 6, 2011, Robert Conover, a citizen of Savannah, did in fact render life-saving emergency care to an unconscious civilian who went into cardiac arrest at the park. Because of his quick actions, and a life was saved. The Savannah Township Fire Chief would like to recognize Mr. Conover for his outstanding work, representing him with this certificate of commendation. We have contacted the gentleman who is still doing very well. His doctor did not want him to drive yet, so I asked Lieutenant Steve Kahan to call him and talk to him, and he has some words. He's going to speak for the gentleman.
Hey. Again, I'm Steve Kahan. I was the lieutenant in charge of this run. I won't reiterate the story that Chief Kowalski just went over, but it's nice to see that we do go out into the public and we teach CPR to different people and places, and it's nice to see that, you know, as many people as we teach CPR, it only takes one person to save somebody's life. That means the world. Chief did ask me to contact this gentleman. It was much harder than I thought it would be because he's not from this area. He's actually from Michigan. After contacting several police departments and hunting him down, they went to his house and they gave him my cell phone number and he called me. Mr. Jimenez, and I am using his name because he told me I could speak about him publicly, stated that he thanks God every day for Mr. Conover. His family thanks God every day for Mr. Conover. He did in fact go into cardiac arrest. We subsequently found out that he had 100% occlusion of his left coronary artery. In our business, we call that a widowmaker for obvious reasons. So basically, Mr. Jimenez was a ticking time bomb, and had it not been for Mr. Conover's actions, Mr. Jimenez would not have survived this event. So again, one more round of applause for him.
No, obviously, we've got one of the best fire departments here in the state of Ohio, and I guess I'm a little bit biased, but out at Pacesetter Park, we deal with these guys on a routine basis, and we appreciate everything they have to offer our community. I appreciate the Sylvania Recreation District for giving us the forward thinking and providing the equipment and the training that we need to handle an event like this. And I'm just ecstatic that everything worked out for the best. And again, I want to thank these guys and thank the township for recognizing such an event. Thanks.
I've got one more item on the agenda. If Nick Scalzo and his wife Katie can come to the front. Nick, where are you at? I don't have any stickers with me today. What's the deal? It's a tradition in the firehouse, in the fire department, that the badge, when you become a full-time firefighter, that your wife or significant other pins the badge on you. So I'm going to ask you to pin the badge on when I'm through with a couple things. Just hang on, hang on. In October 2010, Nick Scalzo began his career with Sylvania Township Fire Department as a part-time firefighter. After completing a standardized fire recruit training class, he began a part-time employment working either a 12 or a 24-hour shift assigned to one of our engine companies. Nick was able to adjust his part-time schedule while he put himself through paramedic school at the Vanguard Career Center. Shortly after successful completion of the paramedic program, and we hire only paramedics full-time in Sylvania Township, so every time you see one of those engines or truck leave, you have advanced life support, the things that we talked about as far as giving the medicine and electrical defibrillation at Pacesetter Park. Nick was offered a full-time career firefighter paramedic position to fill a recently created vacancy. He greatly accepted the employment, and on Tuesday, August 30th, 2011, Nick Scalzo began his professional career with Sylvania Township Fire Department and was promoted from a part-time employee to a full-time paramedic. Nick resides in West Toledo with his wife Katie and their two children, Nick and Messina. Hope I got that right. That's a pretty name. That's a beautiful name. As fire chief, I am proud to welcome Nick Scalzo to the fire department. I am confident that we will bring as much to us as we have to offer him. Nick, congratulations on your department. He's going to say the oath first. Nick, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will obey and support the Constitution of the United States of America, the laws and revised code of the state of Ohio, the established laws and ordinance within Sylvania Township, and the rules and regulations of the Sylvania Township Fire Department. That I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of the position of firefighter paramedic according to all governance therein to the best of my abilities. I take and subscribe this oath before the Board of Trustees and Sylvania Township Fire Chief this 6th day of September 2011. You may now finish. like prom night with 3 birds. It's a hole. There's a little hole right there. Well, that, I'll make your own hole.
Don't get any skin.
Now, he's got to get dressed every morning. That's his same thing. Good job. We get some pictures with the trustees with you. Is that all right?
Yeah, we'll take a small recess while we take a couple pictures.
And then Jennifer, take some pictures. Yep, get right in the So far, feel good. Substitution. No breaks yet. Oh, really? Cool. Good. Good. Rob, good luck. You got 5 minutes out here with your family? Or gotta get back to the meeting. Okay.
Young man, congratulations.
80% of our crowd.
We already talked about it. All right. Have a great night. Thanks for coming in. Wonderful job with your presentation, too.
I don't feel anything. It wasn't my choice, and I'm telling you the God's truth. This was a mere suggestion.
Somewhere there's something that's why, because you said he said he and he did, which suggests to me that...
I was at the meeting, he said, I will deny it, and you want to know what? I didn't even think of that position until he mentioned it to me. My first choice of putting it was going to be over at, what do you call it, Plaza over there on Mary Street, Maplewood, the Haymaker Square. That was my original place, and you know what? He's the one who said, why don't you put it over there on Erie Street? But he says, I'll deny that though if it comes up publicly, because I don't want to look bad. And you want to know what? I didn't care that it was there. To God's truth, I don't care. And that's why I wanted to go out and do this after the holiday and talk to people. The only reason is because we got it by the president. So we can see about getting the hearings, and if it didn't fall through, then we're done. It's like buying a house and you want to get your inspection. That's all. So I'm glad it's over off my back. No problem.
Well, that's not, this is the Great Road Mitchell. Yeah. It's the existing. They're giving that.
Okay, I think people who needed to take the pictures are gone, so I'd like to continue with our meeting.
The next thing on the agenda now is the zoning department, and that brings us to the administrative hearing for River Tree. And then we also have a resolution after that. And then I'd like to add, we'll have another administrative hearing that we have to open up today because it was advertised. And Tim will discuss it, but we'll continue it to the next meeting. So right now we're on administrative hearing for River Tree. Tim, I'll let you open it up then.
As you recall, the last meeting, this application is continued. It was suggested by the board that a number of items be identified and put in writing regarding the proposed development. Those were, first, that the developer agrees that the maximum number of units would be 110. The developer agrees to provide a minimum of a 10-foot landscape buffer adjacent to the west property line of the Langendorfer property. The developer would provide a 120-foot diameter cul-de-sac at the south end of the development. If someone has a piece of property on her road that they would want to develop, the developer would agree to provide a stub street to the east line of the River Tree subdivision. Number 5, if two-family zero-lot line units are developed on the north cul-de-sac, the developer would provide landscape buffer adjacent to the existing single-family homes. Number 6, if the stub street is necessary, the developer would provide utilities on the stub street to the east property line of River Tree subdivision as required by the Lucas County engineer and the Lucas County sanitary engineer. And finally, the developer would agree to provide a drive access easement to the Langendorfers if they cannot access the proposed roundabout with their driveway. And then finally, it was requested that a conceptual layout of the roundabout be presented as part of the development plan. As you see up on the screen right now, this is the conceptual layout that's proposed by the applicant's design engineer. The way this will work, there's my cursor, there it is. Eastbound from Sylvania Avenue would, if there was a direct through further eastbound, it would come up to this intersection here, enter, come around, and then continue east. If they would like to turn into the development, there would be a turn lane there that would allow access into the development this way. Leaving the development, leaving the development, they would come out this way and have a direct line right into the eastbound Sylvania lane. And then finally, for ingress purposes, the traveling public would come into the roundabout, come around, and then access the development this way. The previous approval was based upon some infrastructure improvements that would be necessary by the applicant. One required a realignment of Mitchell Road. The other required left turning lanes into the development, which would be westbound on Sylvania Avenue. The county engineer's office has looked at this conceptual design, and they find that it is feasible, subject to final design and review, but the concept is found to be feasible by the county engineer's office. The improvements necessary to support this new concept versus the old will probably be less than the original improvements necessary at the intersection. The safety factor will be considerably improved, we believe, by providing this roundabout in this situation. Finally, the county engineer's office has said that in the event the development would not develop in a timely manner associated with the elementary school to the north, that they would grant direct access to the Langendorfers onto the roundabout, and that if indeed The development is initiated in a timely fashion with the school project and the development of this roundabout, that they would offset those costs for access onto the roundabout to the River Tree access road. All of those factors that were identified at the last hearing have been met, are either identified in the design or by notes on the development plan. One clarification that was made, the amended plan as it was submitted called out 110 lots. The notes, the minutes of the meeting reflect that number would be 110 units. That correction has been made, and I am in receipt of a PDF that reflects it. That's pretty much where we're at.
Do we open this up for the public?
Yes.
At this point in time? So I would like to open this up for public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak for the development? Or opposed to the development?
John, what I said, could that be in?
Yes. And Penny, you stated that you would prefer that we hold off making a ruling on this until you had a chance to review the documentation, although you are in favor of the development.
We are in favor. We're in favor. Yeah. John, I think, is this project based on the new PUD, or is it based on anything? Okay, so it's as a PUD that stands right now.
Actually, it's the PUD that was in place when it was approved.
Okay.
So it's...
I have no objections to that. I think it's a favorable project. I think it's a best fit. It's the best thing that's been proposed, I think, for that area. As long as I said, water issues, that kind of thing, are addressed. That will go through the engineers, Lucas County. Not only our, where is he? Greg. Anyway, Greg maintains, needless to say, and has, our waterways and our ditches, that kind of thing. But I think it's a good fit for that area, especially in that spot where it's iffy. It's between a 10-mile creek and then residences that border, the west of her road. So we're, if what I can see on the drawings, everything that was asked of him last time has been met. The roundabout is the county, and so all that will have to be hashed out with the county, but we're for it. It's a separate thing. Anything that comes with new amendments to the PUD is separate. Still like to see that before you would go and approve any PUD kind of amendments, and have an opportunity to see that. But as far as this project goes, we think you should move forward. It looks good. As far as we're concerned, we abut to the property, and he's, like I said, meeting everything that everyone had brought forth last time as far as their concerns. Thanks.
Chris Hamady, I'm at 8941 Sylvania Avenue. I would be swayed to be for this project if someone could give me some idea what could be done to look at the water situation as it is now with our property. Every spring, the water comes down from that creek into our yards. And if we could be assured that that will be looked at, then we could be favorable to that project. But I still have those concerns about that water that comes every spring into my yard. Is there any way that we can look at that?
Public hearing, you come back up.
Don, Chris, I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, is it Mr. Landorfer?
My name's Chris Hamady.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. That's something I've worked on for more than 4 years. Those issues are being addressed. And there will never be a time where we won't have water because of where we live. And just that's the topography of the area. We do live in a flood zone. The thing of it is keeping the water out of homes, that kind of thing. During the rain, during the spring, when the ground's still frozen, we always have water standing there for a day or so. But those issues as far as keeping that 10-mile creek clean, shoring up some of the sides, dredging if possible, is something that will come down the road. It was done in '09. As you've seen, we haven't had cars floating down the road. The water coming in through the back doors and rushing out the front of the We will have standing water though in the yard, which then will be able to dissipate.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree. And the reason being, because if you come to my house, you'll see a drain on the east side of my driveway, but the water pools on the west side of my driveway. If the county could come out and put something under my drive so the water could get out of my front yard into the drain that they put in, it really didn't make sense for them to put the drain on the wrong side of the driveway. I mean, if we could even just try to figure out a way to get the drainage out of his yard and my yard,
Is it a matter of changing the swale, Chris?
I don't know what a swale is, but that sounds good.
Swale is sort of like a divot by the road, which deliberately put there so that when water drains off of your property, it heads for the swale and then sends it into the storm drain.
Well, the storm drain, like I said, it's dammed up by my driveway. They put the storm drain on the east side of my driveway, so the water that comes through his yard into my yard pools in my front yard and can't get to the storm drain on the other side of the driveway. So, I mean, if we could just look at that, then I would be a little bit more comfortable that my house isn't going to get flooded, because like I've said, I've had a pond, 15, 20 feet from the front of my house. If it comes up anymore, it's going to be in my house, and that's my biggest concern.
Well, let me say something. Go ahead.
I spent 5 years in soil engineering and drainage engineering for a couple of local companies, and I think what you'll find is once that subdivision gets built, when it does, and Don, I see you're coming up, you're going to see a lot like Westchester Woods, you're going to see a lot of that water, groundwater, it's going to be going down into the drains and out into the sewer. So I think you may be pleasantly surprised if this thing does get built, that there's a good chance you may have less water, but I'm only backing that up by my past experience in that.
Even if you could give me somebody at the county I could talk to about that drain being on the wrong side of the driveway.
The resource we can give you is Mr. Huffman there. He would be able to direct you pretty efficiently through the county system.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll work with the county engineer and Greg to have them at least look at it,
Yeah.
see if there's some
Yeah.
method to correct that.
Don Feller, Finch and Associates. Just in addressing his issue there, obviously that issue doesn't have anything to do with the subdivision. That's an issue that's already there. The drain's apparently in the wrong place. Whether somebody built the drive and didn't provide a pipe over to the drain, I don't know. But again, if you talk with the county engineer and Greg Hoffman, I'm sure they can get that issue resolved. With regard to the drainage, I just want to mention is that obviously our subdivision is going to fix the problems that are already there. However, in designing the subdivision, as we pointed out at the last meeting, we're required by the county engineer to retain the stormwater that comes from this property and discharge it at no greater rate than what it was being discharged prior to the development. That's standard procedure. In addition to that, as Mr. Wamsher explained last time, the area that will be filled in the floodplain, he's going to be taking that dirt out of the area below. So in a simple way to explain it, the volume of storage for floodwater will not be decreased. They'll still have the same volume of storage for a 100-year flood as there is now, as the cut and the fill he was talking about. So he will not be reducing the storage volume for the flood any more than what it is today, and we cannot release the water at any rate greater than what is being released today. So,
what elevation is that road going into, existing grade out there?
I haven't designed it yet. It's going to be probably close to existing grade. We do have to fill and be above the 100-year flood elevation, and that's, as you're familiar, it's pretty flat through there. The flood is probably not more than a foot or two deep at the most in that area.
I'm aware of a site on Mitchell Road where I believe it was Millstream put into development, and the road was 3 feet higher than the existing land, and it slopes right into this person's backyard and it floods it out, and I'm concerned for the Langendorfers, and
Well, typically, we have found that when we normally do developments, we design rear yard drainage, swales, catch basins, storm drains to catch all that water before it can run off the property.
Well, I've got a good example for you that it didn't happen.
We can only design it, we don't build it.
I want to make sure before I vote yes on it that we've got it taken care of moving forward.
Well, we certainly will design it to take care of that. I can't vouch for whoever's building it or inspecting it to make sure it gets done right, but I can assure you that we design it to accommodate that so that there will be no water. And I cannot imagine that in this case it would be that much higher than the existing ground.
Okay.
The only thing I like to add is the fact that it's already got an existing PUD, and this makes it 10,000 times better, so they can still build with the existing PUD, and you're going to end up with crap. So, I mean, this is a heck of a lot better. To me, 10,000 full, and I'd rather approve this, and we can deal with those issues as they arise through zoning, I'm sure, and inspection.
Well, this is zoning and inspection.
I'm saying
stuff, so
they will be
we are
doing
dealing
it
with
as
it
it is
now.
developed.
Okay.
Right now, it's not going to be developed until it does. That will come through, and they'll make sure it's all done accordingly. What we need done, correct? That?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
One thing that could be added is that the design engineer could be made responsible for ensuring that the design is implemented and would sign off on it, so that he would be there on inspection to ensure that it's built.
I appreciate what you're saying, but we don't. The county inspects it so they can be sure that it's built correctly according to plans, because they're the ones that have to take it over, well, the county and the township have to take it over and maintain it. They generally don't want us to inspect it because that could be a conflict of interest since we're working for the developer. They would rather have somebody independent, which is what the county does. The county themselves inspect these projects.
Well, with their staffing down, it's...
Yeah, they're not real busy inspecting subdivisions these days.
Okay, do we close the hearing of the public then?
If I might, just a question. With regard to the Langendorfers, I'm looking at a chicken and egg thing here. We've got a roundabout that doesn't provide, right now, the way it's depicted, without River Tree being developed, access to the Langendorfers property. I think I heard Tim indicate that the county indicated that they would accommodate that access in some fashion, but right now, I don't see where that happens or how that happens exactly.
Well, it would essentially be where the driveway currently is, and
so that would be the fourth prong of the four-prong roundabout.
Then. Yeah, it would be the normal. Yeah, it's just about right on the intersection, so it would be perpendicular to that intersection.
And then the second prong of that is if the developer develops it before the county's ready to do the roundabout, because I'm looking at a county proposal that indicates construction in 2013, assuming that funding is available in 2013 for that project. Is the developer anticipating moving ahead with the project before the roundabout is in? And if so, how are they going to... Now the drawing that they're presenting isn't reflective of what they're going to need to do if they're going to develop the parcel without the roundabout. And so I'm just wondering how those two events interplay with each other.
Well, they're going to have to go into design, and I'd leave it to Don to describe it a little better, but it's going to have to be designed first, and they're going after some grants, and the timing on those grants, the engineer's office feels fairly confident that those grants will be forthcoming to do it, since there is a school involved in this situation, okay? And the timing is critical. So they have a fair level of confidence that it's going to happen.
Well,
because of that.
I guess then my question is the developer anticipating waiting until that process is complete before it moves forward with its development of the project? Because it impacts how the Langendorfers are going to come and go from their home.
Does this access take away any of the Langendorfers' property?
Does this take away anything?
Yeah.
Yes. If I might, it appears, I've got to get myself configured on this thing again, that the Langendorfers' property is
right here.
No, down there, yeah.
There's the take. No, right here. Right here. Okay.
Like the Langendorfer's property is there.
Right, and that would be the take. Yeah.
So there is a take up there in the corner. And right now, I'm not sure what this depicts, but this is about where the driveway comes into the Langendorfer's property. And right now, it doesn't, I mean, the drawing that the county has doesn't anticipate access to Sylvania Avenue from that driveway. I think they're expecting that the Langendorfers will opt to go with the easement access from the River Tree Road. And that may be or may not be, but my concern is what happens if River Tree isn't there when the roundabout goes in.
Well, they will accommodate your access off of the roundabout.
And conversely, what happens if River Tree goes in and the roundabout isn't there?
I'm fairly confident that the roundabout will be there.
And River Tree probably won't get to that stage of the process until the roundabout is there.
Well,
you would think.
Yeah.
All right.
We're just in concept phase.
All right, that's fine.
Just addressing that item, if the development is constructed prior to the roundabout, the county has indicated we would just bring the road in at sort of a temporary angle, similar to what was originally proposed, and then they would modify that when they build the roundabout to the design. They had also indicated to me that prior to the roundabout being built and with the school coming in, that they're going to make that intersection an all-way stop. So in order to control the traffic on the interim, it would be every direction would stop, including River Tree coming in there. Typically, when they do a construction project like this roundabout, they would, as part of the design, they would accommodate Mr. Langendorfer's driveway into the roundabout and do whatever is necessary to do that. They did indicate to me that they felt his drive could go into the roundabout if he desired. But again, the developer has also opted to provide him with the access to the River Tree entrance street if he chooses to go that way instead.
Anyone else? Penny?
Yeah. Just to answer your question, John, if I'm reading this right, the height, you wanted to know the height of what the fall is of the land? Right where that driveway is, you've got, what else here?
670.
Yeah, I've got, on this drawing, it should be like 672, I think. Chris, where are you? Third house from the corner, or what? From her and...
Second house.
Second house, okay, you read it about 670. My parcel is about 668 as far as height goes. So, depends if you build up or if you build down, but the county's got it at 668 where I'm at, 666 next door, 670 at the corner, and about 672 where Mitchaw and the proposed driveway would be. So we do go at a slant, and then when water backs up...
So there's not much I can do.
No, and then when the creek backs up, the 10 mile backs up, so do all the storm drains, and then once that starts to drain, then everything goes down the grade. So it takes a while, but that is something to look into, Chris. Thanks.
What, well, okay, so now we'll close the hearing of the public. And put it to a vote, or?
There isn't.
There is one.
It's administrative.
It was removed. An agenda, we had one on here and we took it off.
We took it off about a half hour before the meeting. I was asked to take it off.
What was the number of the resolution then?
I guess why are we making this move before the county kind of injects their take on this? Is there a reason for that, Tim, or... I mean, I just think there's so many uncertainties here, and with the current economic conditions, I can't see doing anything on this project for several years, and I just feel like we might be rushing something, and I know Mr. Langendorfer's kind of, what if he's got two different scenarios, but why are we pushing this now, given I can't see anybody breaking ground on a new development for several years?
I'd have to let Doug speak to that. I would just say that I'm sure you're aware the county and the PUD is a parallel. Both have to be approved. We did receive comments from the county planning commission regarding this project, which we incorporated into the development plan. I think Tim could address that. So we have gotten comments from the county that were incorporated into this plan. The only difference between what they had suggested and what we proposed was they had wanted the stub street to the south, which we talked about last meeting. Instead, the township preferred a roundabout. That's the only issue that was different from what they had recommended.
Well, and I noticed one of the written things that was added here was that if somebody to the south wanted to sell or develop their property, that would be entertained. I mean, I know there was a house for sale on her road. Is there a certain price line that it has to be below before we move forward on that, or how is that going to be? That's a very vague.
Well, what the issue came up because there was discussion about having access to the east, which obviously at this point in time there is no access to the east. It's all developed properties. Doug just indicated that in the event that there was somebody along her road that chose to develop their property, that he would agree to provide a stub street to that property if that situation ever occurred. But at this point in time, we're not aware of anyone that wants to do that. He just offered that as a means of possibly in the future providing another access.
The reason why we're dealing with this right now is the fact that this is an amendment to an existing development plan. Okay? And it's an administrative review process. It's not a legislative act. So it doesn't go to the Planning Commission per se. It would be contingent on planning, and at that time it would be reviewed in regards to engineering and all the design factors that would go into the planning of the property. The key is to make sure that the general road alignment is what is going to be submitted if it is approved in the planning. In other words, showing the original road as it was designed with a skewed entrance versus the roundabout. I mean, that's a totally different situation in regards to access. Okay, so the key was, is it feasible to integrate a roundabout and allow access for this property? And the county engineer's office said, yes, it is feasible for that to occur, subject to final design.
When was final design going to be?
Planning.
That's up to Doug. This will be going to the Planning Commission for their review also. We do have to, as I said, it's a parallel process. We do have to get preliminary drawing approval. Well, actually, technically, we could go straight in with the final plat and bypass it, but we won't do that. We will submit a revised preliminary drawing for their approval too.
Okay. Tim, you got abatement properties?
I do.
Let's go.
Is there going to be, will this be continued then to the next meeting?
I personally would like to see what the county has to say, because I'm a little bit concerned. I feel like I'm being rushed to make a decision when there's so many variables here, and again, I just am fairly confident that nothing's going to be happening in the community in terms of development for quite some time, and don't see the point of rushing this.
Inaction better than no action. Let's move on.
The next item is Resolution 11-146. It's an authorization to abate 2 properties. The first property is located at 3349 Marsh Road Avenue. The second one is 7510 Windmill Drive. Both of these are tall grass and general maintenance of them.
Resolution 11-146, consideration of abatement.
I would like a little discussion.
Well, we have to have a second first, then we can discuss.
Second. Do we check into these properties before we're doing this and make sure that they're heading down the foreclosure trail and?
No, we check out whether or not we offer them due process, send out certified mailings. If we don't get answers back, then we proceed with abatement. And a check is made prior to putting the resolutions together. They have 30 days to pay for the abatement after the fact, after it's completed. If they don't pay within 30 days, then we submit a lien on the property to the recorder's office.
Take the roll.
Mr. Mahoney? Yes. Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Hey, John?
Mr. Watson wants to say
Okay.
things first.
I apologize. I probably should have spoke up sooner. Going back to River Tree. In the meeting, I believe it was 3 meetings ago, I could be wrong, I think it was 3 meetings ago, we were asked to develop this plan in accordance with the items, and we were told that if we did that, and I gave a sworn statement and put everything on the prints, that I thought we were probably pretty good to go. So all I'd like to do is give you this affidavit, as I would call it, or a sworn statement, saying that we had done everything that we were asked to do in that meeting. And we're still going to go before the county, and as far as the Langenduffers go, they're still in the exact same place. They can either go on to Sylvania Avenue, or they're welcome to come on to River Tree. It's up to them whether the county goes first or we go first. The options all remain open. I don't know what else to do. And I'd just like to, I guess, submit this and ask that we do what we can.
Well, like I said, I just think that there's enough of a question here in terms of the access and things that, and again, I have a lot of interest in the slope and the grades of things because, like I said, I've got personal experience that it does impact the residents around them, and I want to make sure that those are addressed before we go in and put a road in, and then it's kind of an uphill battle for the single resident to hire an attorney, and certainly the Langendorfers are incurring quite a bit of an expense here, that we've got everything worked out and we know exactly what we're getting. And I think I've got some concerns onto the development off Holt Road. I think there were some promises and things on that development that haven't really panned out. And I'm just concerned, and until I remove all doubt, I'm not ready to move forward with it. So if we want to take it to a vote, we can, but I don't think anybody is ready for my vote. So I think the best thing would be to defer it.
Okay, and I would be happy to address any issues, whether it be on Holt Road, because I was made aware on an evening, on a Friday night, and I went out with tape measures, and I did everything, and I would like to be made aware.
Didn't you commit to making that road 22 feet wide, the base of it? Because we are having issues with the Tidewater development wanting to go into a public road, and once you put that single lane road down there, it's going to cost millions of dollars for the township to come in and to get that road up to snuff. And I was out there today, and I believe the base of the road is like 12 or 13 feet.
That's correct. And what we agreed to was 20 feet. We agreed to a 12-foot wide road of pavement with turnouts on each side, which the stone is in. The homeowner
The stone is 20 feet wide?
The stone is exactly 20. In fact, the stone is 20 foot 6 inches wide. And the turnouts are everything is 100% according to the plan that was originally submitted. The binder is down. The homeowner that is there did not like to have stones kicking up in his yard, so he decided that he would put his sod out farther, but we told him that we were going to tear that up next spring when we put the final wearing course down on there, because we want to see if anything breaks up. When we built Windswept Farms, we put in 5/8 of a mile of a wearing course that's exactly 12 feet wide with berm on both sides. The grass has grown in over the years, but the stone out there, which we agreed to with the fire chief at the planning commission downtown, and that would be 12 feet wide with 2 4-foot berms on each side. So they are a little over 48 inches on each side. So we have a total of the 20 feet that was requested of us. It is exactly as we were required to do. And all that stone base is deeper and thicker than what was required by the prints. All the storm drainage is in as required, and it is built literally identical to the print that was approved by the county and by us when we were all in front of the County Plan Commission with the fire chief, and I believe Mr. DeWitt was there at that time. And the only thing we were required to do was whenever we build the next phase was to extend the water line so we could have a direct connection in a circular fashion all the way around the pound. We agreed to that, and we also agreed to put in the turnaround at the end of the street on a temporary basis for the fire trucks to turn around, and we also built that exactly as per plan. So, I mean, I'm happy to meet anybody out there with any tape measures and any engineers, and would be happy to address that. But I know that we did that, and I know that that came up one evening. Someone called me and said, you didn't build it according to print. I said, let's go. So we went out there, and we checked every single thing, and it is exactly, in fact, it's actually wider and deeper than originally called for in the prints. Yeah. And if anybody wants to meet me, I'll be happy to meet them. The only other thing I would say is that there was something brought up tonight about another area where the road is not working out. If I am made aware of it, which I was just made aware of it tonight, I will be happy to meet whoever out there and meet the engineers out there. And if we did not do something according to print, I will correct it.
According to print and the impact to the neighbors is a huge difference. I mean, you can get something approved by county, but then when the rubber meets the road, you know, the community members who have been there for years get stuck with what's left behind. And, you know, then, like I said, it's an uphill battle, and hiring an attorney and things, it's just not as easy once it's there. And that's why I want to make sure it's right before we move forward, so it doesn't happen again.
Okay, well, all I'm saying is that if there is an issue like that exists, I will be happy to go and meet someone there and look at it, and if it's something that we did that's not correct or a slope wasn't done properly, we'll redo it. I don't know it if I don't know about it.
Well, I mean, like I said, properly on a blueprint and properly my backyard or my front yard and my basement gets flooded could be the same thing. So I want to make sure that we get it right. You know, I mean, the blueprint can show this is the slope, this is everything, here you go, we approved it, but it doesn't mean that this neighbor or that neighbor there isn't going to have a flooded backyard or a flooded basement.
Okay, and all I'm trying to understand is what I'm supposed to do, because every week I've been trying to do this, to bring it in, and I just redid all the prints, I just redid everything, and just gave an affidavit based upon the meeting 3 times ago, so that I wanted to do it properly to meet everyone's expectation levels, and that's what I was trying to do, and I'm happy to do that. Now, if I have a new charge that I didn't have 3 weeks ago, I just wasn't aware of it, that's all.
You know, what I'm saying is we've got a new school going in less than a quarter mile from this location. We have a school right across catty corner from this entrance, and I just think it's imperative that we get this right. And obviously, you know, I'm not willing to pass it off and hope the county does what's right. I want to make sure that I get it right here first. And
I understand, and I'm not even trying to be argumentative. All I'm saying is that I approved the first print with the right elevations and had it all fully approved. And this print is exactly the same entryway. Everything's identical right there. The really major difference is that we have less lots and we have about 15 acres of green space. And really, that's the major.
It was a slight error or just an oversight, but I mean, the fact that it came in with 110 lots did not please me when I saw it on Friday when Tim emailed it to me. You know, it was agreed that it was 110 units, and I'm pretty clear on that. And I know we've amended it, but if Tim wouldn't have caught it, certainly, again, I'm not going to be sitting here approving something that you slipped one past the goalie.
No, it's just, well, I can't, I was going to say, but can I just a second? Okay, just one second. The lots that are on there, the only reason they show that is not because of the fact that there's anything more. The original submittal had lots that were 70 feet wide. And on those lots, you can build a two-family which has 2 units. But under the new financing regime, they don't like you to have 2-unit lots. They want you to have a single lot. So as a way of an example, just to show how that works, I went ahead and broke the lots into that. So it's not actually separate units. That's if you take a two-family and you put it on. In order to finance it now, they want us to have single lots. That's the reason it shows those lots like that. It's not any more than we ever had from the very time we ever started the project. I only did it because I thought that Tim's department, or Mr. DeWitt's department, would have a question as to the number of units. So I wanted to show how that works whenever you plat a lot separately compared to showing a two-family lot that then has a common lot line with 2 units on it. That's the only reason I did that. So it's less than there ever was before. Before there were approximately 150, maybe more than that, maybe 180, and now we're at 110 maximum that we could as we showed it on there. But that's just because you plat a two-family as 2 lots, not 1 lot. That's the reason for that. Now, go ahead, Tom.
First of all, I just want to point out that the note about the 110 lots versus units was just an oversight on my part. I just missed that when we were revising the drawing. The other thing...
An oversight in your favor, though, not...
No. The other thing I want to point out is if you look at the drawing and the details for the lots on the drawing, clearly indicate that each unit is on an individual lot. So whether they're lots or units, it's the same number because each unit is on an individual lot. So you can't... Either way, 110 units, 110 lots, it's the same. You can't have more than 110 either way. Lots or units are one and the same. Each unit is on an individual lot. So while that should have been changed, it really doesn't matter because lots and units are identical. So 110 lots, 110 units, it's still a maximum of 110 units. But that was an oversight, Tim brought that to my attention today, and I sent him a revised drawing with that change made. But the fact is, lots or units are one and the same.
Is there any other questions I can I'd be happy to answer anything, and I'm happy to do what you guys want me to do. I really have tried. I've really tried to comply.
I know, but we're wrestling with, one of the main issues that many of the candidates have run on is, we've got to do smart development. And I think passing something in hopes of A, B, and C happen downstream isn't really smart. I'd like to see the final in terms of what the county's going to come back with, and, I just think this has moving parts to it, and I would like to stop them personally and see where we're at before I move forward. I don't think you guys are planning on breaking ground in the next 60 days, 90 days, are you?
I would like to go out to see if I can find a market for river lots, because I'd be the only one in Sylvania with river lots. And lots and markets in Sylvania right now are very difficult. The only lots similar to this are in a subdivision at the corner of Little that back up to the creek along there, and this is the only project, the only one that exists that backs up to both 15 acres of common space. I've been working with the conservation people to put a conservation easement in, and we have tried very, very hard to do this so that I can go out. I only want to put in 10 or 12. That's all I'd like to put in. Needless to say, if I can go out there and find people and say, so you're telling me you're going to have no one behind us? That's correct. You're going to have an open space? That's correct. And you're going to have a creek for your backyard? Yes, that's correct. Residential in Sylvania is very difficult right now. Has been and will continue to be. All I'm trying to do is bring a product that no one else has in the entire, that I'm aware of in the Sylvania market, available with 10-mile creek frontage. I'm not aware of it. And I've been trying to do this now for probably going on 2 years. So it isn't that I've been rushing, and based on that affidavit, I'm happy to do whatever else, but I need to do something. We're just sitting here. We don't have, there just isn't anything for us to do because people don't want, right now, existing types of projects. They don't want the same old, same old. That's the reason Sweetwater has grown attention to people. We've got 2 houses, one of them's up and completed, another one getting ready to dig, another one under construction. It's different. And if we don't offer something in our marketplace it's very difficult to move forward within Sylvania Township. And it isn't just Township, it's every place. But I would love to have something where I can say you can have a lot with a easement area behind you and also a 10-mile creek and no neighbors behind. That's something that we don't have. So whatever it is that I can do, I will do it. I just spent thousands of dollars to design this roundabout with Mr. Feller in order to do that, work with the county, in which he went down and met with them, and they did agree to it, and they said, yes, this will work. And the only thing I can say is that what we're about to develop, I can ask, what's down here? I'm pretty sure on this is that what we're about to put in is lower than the Langendeffers house, and I can ask you that. Do you know that right now?
I am concerned that Penny's reading the map and you guys weren't aware of it. I mean, that obviously sends concerns up to me.
Well, I believe that we are going to be lower and that we will have proper drainage and swales and we will get to all of the necessary storm drainage. I know that. I mean, I can, if you want me to put that on the affidavit, I'll put that on there too. But I know that. And I'm willing to do that. And I'm just trying to figure out how to move forward. I've been trying this for a long time. And this is just, it really has been going on, not just for a month or two, but almost 2 years now. Since 2 years after the first approval. So we're probably 4 to 5 years trying to get this project approved now.
Well, you've got something approved already, so, but there are obstacles that we're all dealing with, like a floodplain and a new flood zone map, and, so this is a moving picture here, and, again, I don't understand the rush for this.
I just feel bad that we keep asking him to come back. That's the only thing I've got to say.
I can't say a whole lot because I'm abstaining from this.
Is there something that you would like me to do specifically, and I will go do it?
I would like to get the comments back from the county before we move forward, personally.
Okay.
To give me the confidence that this is, that everybody's comfortable. And Tim, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, normally when a preliminary drawing is submitted, they will submit a preliminary drainage plan and preliminary road alignments. Final engineering is held off until the final plat is submitted. I suppose the county engineer's office could review the preliminary drainage plan as a condition to the preliminary drawing, and that might provide the comfort zone that you would need to make that determination, and they could take a look at some of the drainage issues up along the immediate reaches of Sylvania Road here, and the design of the roundabout could very well cure some of those drainage issues too. So, it's done in other places. I guess it would be up to the
Do you recommend approving this or holding off or what? I'm not a zoning guy, but I do try to listen to the residents and the community and see what their concerns are. And everyone out there is concerned about drainage and the traffic flow. And both of them are going to change drastically with this project. So I'm wondering why I'm voting on this right now.
Well, it is the most significant portion of the 100-year floodplain of 10 miles. This is where a lot of the flooding occurs, from here down to Central Avenue. And it's an issue that I share your concern. I think we need to make sure that it's done right and contributes to solving the...
How can we make sure it's done right?
Well, I would say a preliminary drainage plan would go a long way towards at least alleviating some of the concerns.
And I look at Sylvania Metamora and the storm water sewer out there. It was severely inadequate, and we had problems down there for, a decade or more until the township stepped in and remedied that. So I'm trying to avoid that here, that we've got everything covered and we at least discuss, the drainage.
And I think the drainage should be done in concert with the roundabout design, because that may be one of the solutions to some of the properties on Sylvania. Okay. I would like to see a preliminary drainage plan done in association with a preliminary drawing. And I think the county engineer would then be in a position to make a determination on the feasibility.
And then the developer could negotiate with the Langendorfers for the access and the acquisition of property. And I mean, because essentially this is all hinged on you guys selling a chunk of your land.
Well, I think the county's going to be the taking entity as far as that roundabout space is concerned. Certainly, we're concerned about if we have to reconfigure our driveway access, where does that cost fit into the overall plan? Because one way or another, we're going to have to alter that entryway, or we're going to have to alter it coming off of the River Tree development one way or the other, and remove a bunch of driveway that's no longer of serving any purpose if we're going to enter from the River Tree development.
And I think the county engineers made it clear that they will make you whole on that.
I would anticipate that they would need to. That part I understand. And I think it is the county, though, that we're dealing with as far as that's concerned, as far as the taking itself. And then the negotiating with Doug and his team to come to the access easement is something that I'm confident that we can work through.
We agreed to do that, Dick.
Right. I said I'm confident we can work through those.
Well, a preliminary drainage.
Be more than happy, but I can tell you right now, I can tell you the preliminary drainage concept right now is going to be rear yard swales, rear yard catch basins like we do in any subdivision. That's standard.
I'd like to see the elevations included. I mean, I do have concerns because I know it hasn't been looked at in the past.
Well,
I do have to say one thing, that according to the EPA regulations with the new stormwater, the engineer has to comply with all the rules and regulations to make sure it's going to comply before they didn't have to. And that's all new starting now, especially with we got the stormwater thing. So I know they just can't do whatever they want to do because EPA would step in and fine them tons of money if they don't do it properly.
What you're asking for, Mr. Genuine, is for Mr. Wamsher to go out and have us spend a very significant amount of money in design and topographic surveys and et cetera, prior to knowing if he even has an approved plan. Once you approve the plan, then the design has to go through the county engineer's office. That's how it works. And they review the design to make sure that it doesn't cause problems. And I can tell you, and we've done an awful lot of subdivisions, and we very rarely have any kind of problem with the adjoining neighbors. In fact, more often than not, we improve the drainage to the adjoining neighbors. Now, I can tell you, let me give you, well, we're going to check that one out because I want to find out what's going on. But I'll just give you an example. Many years ago, we did design St. James Woods. We got a call after it was developed and that, hey, my backyards are flooding. What's going on here? What's wrong with our drainage? So we went out and had a meeting with the county engineer's office, went out and looked at it, discovered that in building one of the houses, the builder had put a piece of plywood over the catch basin and filled in the backyard and totally eliminated all the drainage for those houses. Now, yeah, they had a drainage problem. Now, was that our fault? No, it wasn't our fault. It was done after the fact, after the county had reviewed it and inspected it and it was built. Along comes a builder and messes it all up. We have no control over that. And I'm not saying that's the issue there, but just an example of what happens. We can design it and build it properly, but what happens after that, sometimes they get plugged. Had a case one time where there was a complaint about drainage and it was a piece of plastic over the end of the pipe that got in the catch. It's things like that that often cause problems that, have nothing to do with the original design. Again, we're going to go out and look at the situation you're talking about and find out what's going on, because I never heard that before myself, and I'd like to know. We are going to look into that, because it shouldn't be happening. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that, as I said, the PUD approval is a distinct and separate approval from the county. If you guys approve this development plan, we can't change it. Even if the county approves something different, then we would have to come back and get this one amended, because this is your approval, not the county's. They're two separate things, and if they're different, then we have to somehow work that out between the two of you. So whatever you're approving tonight is what we have to build unless we come back and get it amended, no matter what the county approves.
The ideal is that there are parallel processes and that design and the concept come together.
Yeah, we have had situations out here where the county approved one thing and the
this is
township
an
approved something.
amended
Right.
PUD, so it's a
But-
little different twist.
Right, but still, whatever you approve is what we have to build unless it's amended.
Am I correct in understanding if they wanted to move forward with River Tree and the roundabout for whatever reason wasn't happening, they'd have to come back with an amendment to this if this got approved today?
Well, that would be contingent on, I think, on the county engineer. And that's why maybe going to a preliminary drawing begins to solve that problem. It builds in a contingency. We can put in a contingency that, if this development happens before the roundabout, that this is the alignment that would be temporary, okay, contingent on the final design of the roundabout. So, you can build the contingencies into it. It's just that we got to know what they are.
Because we still are interested in the contingent access.
Yes.
I can tell you that the county's going to build a roundabout. The question is, when are they going to build it? If they get their grant this year, then they'll be building it in 2013. If they're not, then they'll apply next year until they do generate the funding. From my discussion with the county, that's a given. There's going to be a roundabout there. If we come before the roundabout, we will have to work with the county to put somehow temporarily come in at the same angle, then the roundabout can be incorporated in the roundabout when they design it. Basically, it'll be pretty much the same configuration, just won't have all the radiuses and stuff. It'll just go straight in temporarily, as it was originally intended. That's an issue. Those things will all be worked out with the county. If we have to put in a temporary connection on an angle, we won't even impact Mr. Langendorfer's property at that time. Then the county would then come back when they acquire their right of way, would take care of whatever is needed to do all that.
Well, table.
Why don't we table for 2 weeks and we can sit down and knock out some of these contingencies and go from there.
Okay. So we'll close the public hearing.
You already did.
I thought I did, but we'll close it a second. Okay.
The last item is a text amendment, a series of amendments actually. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 amendments to the zoning resolution. Put these in one resolution. What we need to do is open up the hearing and then continue it, and we can then discuss it at the next meeting. I will come up with individual resolutions for each of these, and we can vote up or down on it. It's been advertised, so we have to hear it tonight, and then we can continue it for the next meeting.
So we will open up the public hearing for the approved amendments to Sylvania Township zoning.
And then we'll continue it.
And then with continuation. Do we have anybody here who wants to speak either for or against our proposed amendments? Okay. And we will continue that to our next meeting, which is the...
The 20th. Tuesday the 20th.
Tuesday the 20th. And we will close the public hearing for that. Continue until the 20th. Okay.
Next item is the road department, and I'm sure Greg by now has a very short monthly report.
Good evening. Monthly report for August has been submitted for your review. Just a quick highlights. We are now selling our used motor oil. Item number 1C, our used motor oil for 50 cents a gallon to Crystal Clear, where previous we were paying for it to be safely removed, so now we're selling it to them. Jim, if you'd be kind enough to boot up a couple of pictures for your review. Road Department personnel performed this task behind Fire Station number 4. We connected the downspouts into a storm sewer that runs parallel. I think it's that one right there. There you go. Here's the cut section of the storm sewer and the downspout tapping in. We also installed a street elbow here in case if this conduit becomes plugged, the firemen can simply clean out their own downspouts. Okay. Next item, the next picture is over at the police station. Again, this was performed by township employees. We installed a new concrete stamped patio so they could have a picnic table out there and take their breaks. And other than that, we're up to about 800 lineal feet of concrete curb repair with our summer infrastructure plan. Resurfacing 1 and 2 are going along. Greenacre storm enclosure ditch going along well. And in the cooler weather, we'll probably have the emulsified seal coat project start. Pending your questions, I'm ready to move on to the next item.
I would like to clarify for the public and maybe make sure it gets out in the newspaper or whatever. General pickup starts next Monday.
That is correct.
Okay. I continually get asked that question. When does it start? When does it start? So I just want to make sure that I was telling them correctly.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. That is a big hit in this community, so
right.
We all appreciate cleaning our garages and sheds out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Neil, you got anything?
I'm good.
Okay, next item, recommending resolution 11-152. This is to augment this season's leaf pickup program with the low bid of Botanian tree service.
Resolution 11-152 for the leaf pickup.
Second.
I'm sorry?
Calling the roll, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Mahoney.
Yes.
Yeah, low bid.
Mr. Haddad stepped out. Mr. Dunaway.
Yes.
Thank you. Recommending next item, resolution 11-154. Approve the pavement and drainage plans for Persentum Road. This is along the area of the Sylvania Residence project behind Lowe's, if you're familiar with that. These plans have been approved by the Lucas County Engineer's Office, and Mylar sheet is ready for our signature, the board's signatures.
Offered 11-154, approved pavement and drainage plans for Persentum.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
What are we voting on, the amendment?
11-154.
Persentum.
Yes. Oh, for Persentum, yes.
And Mr. Dunaway.
Yes.
Thank you.
As we've already done the fire department, the next item is the police department. We have 2 resolutions.
Good evening. Asking for approval of Resolution 11-148 for the police department to sell obsolete or unused items. This will be one Crown Vic that's been retired.
Offer resolution 11-148 to sell obsolete or unused items.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Dunaway.
Yes.
And Resolution 11-151, we would ask for approval to hire a dispatcher.
Do we have somebody already picked out?
Yes. Actually, we came up with 2 excellent candidates that Mr. Zeitler will speak to. Conducted interviews yesterday, or last week.
Great. I'll offer resolution 11-151 to hire dispatcher.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Dunaway.
Yes.
And pending that, any questions or issues or anything for me?
Yes, I asked you before publicly about letting us know when things are going on. I've gotten calls from people who said there was a robbery over at the Marco's Pizza on McCord Road, and I knew nothing about this.
Well, if you want to call on every felony that we have.
I don't want to call it every felony, but, something that might, come up where people want to know what's going on because they heard the sirens and everything. People call me about it. Not everyone, but
I think you could direct them to the chief of police or to anyone at the police department who would handle that better than trustees.
When residents call me up, don't they want an answer? I have to give them something. And when I don't know, it doesn't look good. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm available all the time, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Chief, could we get Mr. Haddad a scanner?
Yeah, sure.
You don't want to.
Sure, we could go ahead.
We can
and-
hear when he wants to hear.
Sure.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I might add, we passed a resolution to hire a dispatcher, but the chief has two dispatchers that could be leaving shortly. One of them, what's for sure, the other one we're still working on. And as you know, it's we just had the interviews, so we have candidates available, and it takes a good 3 months to hire a dispatcher. So we're going to keep on top of this, and we might be coming back shortly. Once we get word if one of them is actually leaving, we'll come back and ask to hire another one. But not at this point, but we just want to let you know that there's a good possibility that some dispatchers will be leaving and we'll want to replace them as quickly as possible. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the administrator, and this resolution was tabled before, and it's approval of the Lucas County Solid Waste Management District amended draft plan. From the last time I spoke to you, at that point, none other entities had passed other than the city of Toledo and the county. Since that time, the city of Maumee and Monclova Township have passed it. As you know, since the city of Toledo passed it and the county, it's passed. They're just asking for our approval, and once again, I'll be up to the trustees to pass this amended plan. The only benefit, if you pass it, is that if there are, and I use the word if, there are grant dollars available in the future for this, that since we approve the plan, we could then participate in those grant dollars. Once again, that's a big if. There's also the philosophy of whether you want to do it or not, just to say we're not for this increase in the plan. So that's where we stand.
Are there any downsides to approving it?
Downsides, other than the increase in it, it's going to happen. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it, so that's a given. The plus side would be, once again, if there's grant dollars available, we can participate in them. And once again, we can still table this we have to the end of October to pass it. And the reason we tabled it so it's on again, and like I said, since the last time we had it on, the city of Maumee and Monclova Township have both passed it.
Anyone in discussion? Anybody have any comments or concerns?
Well, they just priced themselves out of the market technically because given Toledo to the garbage and recycling program that they did, there's much less use for their department, so they needed more money to keep it going on the solid waste portion of it. As of this, the water district portion of it, from Jim Shaw's area, I mean, that's still in compliance and needs to be moved forward, but on this area, I don't see where more money and more fees for garbage is going to help impact the area when, you don't have a use for your department anymore, basically. But that's my take on it, because I spoke with them, and that's what we came up with. He said, I just need more revenue because we don't have much use for us really anymore.
Would you prefer to table it at this time?
I would.
Okay. My next item on the agenda is just informational for the trustees. We are advertising for board appointments, and I'll just go through them real briefly. The first one is for SAJAR, and they have to November 15th. We're going to advertise for people to send in their resumes for these appointments. They have to November 15th to send that one in. TARDA is a 3-year term, and the deadline for that is September 23rd. Board of Zoning Appeals is a 5-year term. They have to November 15th to submit their application. And the Zoning Commission is for a 5-year term, and once again, that's November 15th to get their application in. So I'm just doing this for the public to acknowledge and to let you know that these appointments will be coming up and we're advertising for them.
I saw something in the paper too, so hopefully the word's getting out there. We'll get plenty of qualified candidates.
Hopefully. The next one is a proclamation for the 140th anniversary of the Sunset House, and Trustee Mahoney has the proclamation.
Would you like me to get it? It's in the office. I don't know if you guys...
Just let's approve it. We've already signed it.
Okay.
Are they here
Is anybody here for that?
for the Sunset House?
No. No, but the meeting is at 1:30 on the 17th, Saturday, at 1:30 out there. They'd love for us to be out there. If you guys can make it.
I will be out of town, but I congratulate them, and they have a beautiful facility here in the township, and I wish them all the best.
Great. I'll pass that on.
Okay.
Okay, my last item is, as the board has directed me in the last few meetings, talking about no parking on township boulevards. This is Resolution 11-153, establishing no parking on Sylvania Township boulevards. The resolution at this point does not have a minimum distance in it for no parking. That would be determined after the trustees discuss it and determine what they want to do. But we have the resolution on for discussion.
I'd like to offer Resolution 11-153, establish no parking on Sylvania Township boulevards.
Second.
Sorry, Kevin.
That's right. We have to insert how many feet we want it width-wise. Do you want to go 18, 17, 16? How wide do you want it to be to have no parking there? I recommended 18 feet. That way it allows the 10 feet for the safety vehicles to get down the street.
I'm concerned that, I have tried to ask the police and fire chief, and none of them have ever had any issues with it. I've asked our administrator to go back and look at any complaints. We haven't had any complaints, so I'm kind of curious as to why we may be solving one problem but creating another.
They have them over on, what's the subdivision, Westchester? They have no parking signs on Westchester when you come into that whole boulevard area.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a boulevard at Rudgate, where Rudgate Estates goes into Rudgate in the woods. That boulevard, there was people parking there. I couldn't get through it just my truck because it's only like 15 feet. One is that through there? That's really narrow in that one. Is that little one over at, Homerdale and Nantucket to go through there. There were cars parked there. I couldn't get through that intersection one time. I'm just saying on the boulevard areas, they can park up and down the streets. We got plenty of room. It's just those boulevards. Because when that girl had the accident on the motorcycle, had they been cars parked there, we could have never got the ladder truck down the street there. We had to stop at the end, which I showed pictures of in the past. What do you say, Chief? Do you have any comments to make?
I sent our crews out to every boulevard that was sent to me to look at it. And the crews suggested that anything 18 feet and under, we would have a no parking restriction on it. Only because the ladder truck is 10 foot 2 inches from mirror to mirror. An 18-foot with a 6-foot car wouldn't give us much leeway on either side. And if there was a truck parked there with an extended mirror for a camper or whatnot, it would be extremely difficult for us to get down. So they did travel down all those boulevards that we were sent. And I asked Deputy Chief Fred to take care of that. Do you want to make any comments on that? Right.
The concerns were not being able to get through if cars were parked there. And obviously the less width on the street would severely restrict that.
Is there a reason why you couldn't use the exit? If it's an emergency and things, we're all, and I hate beating around the bush. We're talking about the Shabbat house here, and I don't.
That's not the only location.
Well, that's how it was brought the first time. And my concern is if we take that away from them, we've created another problem as to where they're going to park. So I would rather, and I've gotten no complaints from any residents there, and throughout the history of the township, I don't ever recall it being an issue.
I'd I personally don't like government intervening on anything with regards to this. I think we've got a good zoning department, and let you guys handle this for a while until this becomes a serious problem. I'm not hearing anything bad about it either. And
let's just table it.
No, we got it out for a vote.
We can still table it.
Tim, I think this is something in your department, Melissa and Daryl could start taking control if this was a big problem.
Well, the other problem that exists that hasn't been mentioned is inclement weather, where you have parking and snowbanks, and that is an issue, and it's been an issue in cul-de-sacs too, where you need to have access into those areas. So it depends on, it's situational.
Okay.
But if it occurs in a
So we're going to make a law on something that's situational. I'd like to see you and your department take a more proactive and maybe report back to us quarterly or semi-annually on how things are going with it, and so we can keep abreast of it. But if you're asking for me to vote for it, I'm going to say no.
Then let's just table it.
Let's take the vote.
I don't want to take a vote. Go ahead.
Call the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
No.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
No.
Anything else you guys want to knock that I want to do or anything? Go ahead, keep going. You're doing fine.
Well, I guess we can wait till the next meeting where I'm not
I
here.
got to leave it.
Let's slide it all through there.
Start because I got to go. I got to get to it.
Next item is the fiscal officer, Mr.
There
Simcoe.
was just one thing I wanted to say, if I could.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, be real brief. You guys did a great job with your business plans last year, and I think we left that day, I said, hey, let's start looking at let's continue to look back at the plan and see where we're at and see if we're in budget, see how we're rolling with this. And if you guys could report back to us in some sort of a fashion publicly, or I guess it'd be most appropriate, but just kind of get us an idea, how we're looking, where we're at. Do we have any big surprises at the end of the year? I know Jim and Dave have done a great job with keeping the numbers where they need to be according to our budget, but I just wouldn't want any curveballs in the fourth quarter this year being way out of whack. So if you guys could take a look at those for us, I'd appreciate it personally.
For our budget meetings, if we could implement that and to have a public meeting for the department heads to give an update and to give us, what issues they're confronting and, their objectives for, coming forward. I think that's a great idea.
Right. I don't know if I'll have it ready for the next meeting, but we'll get it on the agenda. What I'll do is I'll sit with all the department heads, because one of the things, and
Just
it's good
for the
information.
record, though, excuse me 1 minute. I'm going to say this on the record. I have to leave to a funeral. But a very personal friend of mine just passed away, and I have to go there tonight, so I'll see you.
When you have the percentages of, like, halfway through the year you spent 50%, that's good information, but that might not tell the whole picture that in October we're buying a truck or something that could throw things out of whack. So I'll sit down with each department head, know where we're at, and any unusual things that could be coming up, good or bad. We'll do a report and report back to the trustees at an open meeting.
Great, thanks.
That would be great.
Thanks, guys. Great
And then,
job.
because the budget meetings are going to be coming here shortly, so maybe we could have this so we could match up the priorities for the budget to the goals and
Correct.
the mission of the departments. Great.
Okay.
Record to probably reflect that Mr. Haddad left 6:18. Mr. Beck.
Good evening. Excuse me. I have two resolutions that I'd like your approval on. The first one is Resolution 11-149, and this is a transfer of appropriations. We've got some line items that are running a little short within several departments, and I need to transfer some money from other line items within the department. So if I can I'll bring up the list here for you.
I've seen this already, Jim.
Yeah, okay.
Being here today, so, or actually, people want to see what it is anyway, sorry.
Can you see it close enough there? There we go. You have any questions on any of those?
I don't.
Okay.
Make a resolution, 11-149, transfer appropriations.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney. Yes.
Yes.
The final resolution I have is approve a couple payments for then and now purchase certificates, and those are for, one of them is for the city of Sylvania to pay for the fireworks. I'll rotate it here. City of Sylvania for $8,500, and the other one is for BSB Communications, and that is, we have money in the line items, but we didn't have a purchase order created quickly enough before we got the bill. So that's basically what we've got here. So we're not asking for more money, we just want to pay the bill.
Resolution 11-150, approve payment of then and now purchase certificates for the fireworks and BSB.
Second. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
And I'd like to might add on the fireworks, we did get credit for the businesses that contributed. We split it between us and the city of Sylvania, so that is actually lower than we originally thought of. I think our original was like $10,500.
Yep.
So it is less.
Great. Okay, open discussion. We've already had the fire station location, so I don't want to beat a dead horse. I would now like to offer a motion, or hearing of the public on non-agenda items. Is there anybody signed in?
I didn't
sign in, but could I say a couple things?
Yes. You come up and state your name and address.
Sue Tewitt, 605751 Green Acres, sorry. I just want to say that our ditches are filled, the tiles are in, the dirt's in, the topsoil started, and I'm very happy. And I wanted to know if, or when, that zoning change on our corner is going to be heard again?
The applicant has not gotten back to me on that, whether or not they are going to pursue it or withdraw it.
Okay.
I think they are looking elsewhere at this time.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for Green Acre and our ditches, our non-ditches.
Okay. I would like to offer a motion to go. John, do you have anything?
No.
Offer a motion to go into executive session to discuss fire department personnel for the fire department.
And this will be very...
Second. Very brief.
Big record work on getting up there. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman?
Yes.
At 6:23. Hey, Neil. Yeah.
It's nice in here now.
Okay. Let the record state that we came out of executive session at 6:38. And
John Genowine moves to go out to executive session, and Neil
seconds
it. Yep. Calling the roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney? Yes.
I would like to offer resolution number 11-155, authorizing our fire chief to appoint a lieutenant. Whereas interviews were conducted with individuals who are currently on the official promotion list for the open lieutenant position, and whereas Chief Kowalski has reviewed the qualifications of the applicant with the Board of Trustees in executive session. Therefore, be it resolved by the trustees of Sylvania Township, Lucas County, that Fire Chief Jeff Kowalski be authorized to appoint a lieutenant from the list of qualified applicants.
Second, Mr. Mahoney, seconded. And calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney? Yes. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
That, I think, is all we have for the meeting.
I would like to close the meeting at 11:39.
6:39.
6:39.
11:39. It seemed like that long. Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay.
Just seems like 11:30.
For you, it's probably not.
No,